I'll call the meeting to order. If you want to stand to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alderman Miller, would you lead our invocation for us?
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we come to thank you for this day, and we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity you've given us. And Heavenly Father, we press forward in the business of this city. We pray, Heavenly Father, you lead, guide, and direct our decision, and they be pleasing in that sight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Just to be clear, there are two things that were kind of added to this. One is we have our final invoice from Phoenix Tank before their MCWI match expires. So we wanted to get that one approved so we could get it in and get the MCWI match. Any work they do after August 31st, according to that new contract, will be on them. They'll only get half their money. They won't get the match. But to be fair, we wanted to get this one approved. And also, Alderman Piper had said he would like to do an executive session for department head salary discussion, so I added that one. So if y'all are good with that, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. First up is the discussion of the budget. I had written questions that we received from Alderman Piper, Alderman McClendon, and Alderman Kitchens, and we answered those the best we could and got them back to y'all. I do have copies of those requests and our answers here if y'all want me to disperse them around. So I have them if y'all want them.
We can look at them because that'll keep us from, might have some of the same concerns, that one.
For those that ask for these, is it okay if I share your emails with the rest of the board?
Yeah.
Okay. Here, I'll let you pass them. I may need them too. I may need my own copy. And while these are being passed around, would anyone like to start the discussion? Y'all have a updated budget here that has some changes that were highlighted since our last meeting. I think everything we changed is highlighted. And we can just start whenever y'all are ready to start talking about issues you have, and not so much issues as ways we can all work together to make it a better budget. Welcome, Chad. We're just getting started. Does anybody have a question or a concern from where we left off so we can keep moving forward on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not speaking for everybody, but just for myself, I think I'm speaking for the majority of the board. Like I think the contingency amount is just not something we can live with.
You're speaking for me too.
Okay. So, I mean, I would like us to kind of set a goal or to have some discussion around a goal to get to, and then make, whatever adjustments have to be made. So I don't know if anybody else agree. Thank you so much. I had thrown out, I think at our last meeting, like maybe a $600,000 goal for the contingency, but I don't know where everybody else's thoughts are. Just setting that as a priority, kind of moving forward.
So are you talking about current year, you're talking about contingency for 27 or our aggregate contingency?
I was thinking general fund contingency.
Yeah, but since
for
now
this
we have
fiscal year.
that 200.
Yeah, to include the 251,000 is what I would think we're talking.
Yeah, so you're saying 600 to include the.
Yeah, so
Okay.
we need, so whatever that delta is, 100, 400 and,
So that would mean this year would be about $400,000.
yeah, basically to make adjustments to the budget in the amount around $400,000 to increase that contingency amount to 600,000.
Where do you suggest that to come from?
So, I mean, if, just look at the, kind of the questions that I posed, I mean, one of the things I looked at was, if we looked at doing a per employee raise at $1,000. On the third page of the answers that they just gave you from mine, it's about a $171,546 savings. That'd be a pretty substantial, that would basically double the contingency while still giving, some amount of financial incentive to every employee. I would not include the alderman in that. And so kind of just looking at the math behind that, so if we're looking at employees that have, a $17 an hour hourly wages, right? A 3% raise would put them at, $17.54 an hour. No, $17.51 an hour. If we did $1,000, so over, that's, 51 cents times 2,000 hours, give or take, it's about $1,000. So our lowest kind of hourly employees would still be getting around that 3% number, but it would just, the higher echelon of payroll would not be getting, obviously that as big of a bump. But we would still be able to kind of reward and probably take a little bit more it's the same financial burden, off of the hourly employees. So that's kind of the thought process behind that specific figure. So that was just one, that's just one idea. It doesn't get us all the way there. But certainly something to just get the ball rolling.
And I think we all have been talking about that, when we look at our employees in June, our employees, some of the lowest paid employees in the county. And then if we're gonna take and, cut whatever potential increase we plan on giving to them, it's gonna put them further and further back. So, I just can't agree to, because it's a very minimum increase that's being proposed at 3%.
And what's being proposed is less than inflation. I know I'm not going to be good with anything less than 3% on salaries.
I think inflation this year was 2 point something, so it's above inflation.
Where'd you get that from?
I can look up the CPI.
I did an AI question about cost of living increase for Social Security recipients in January upcoming, and they're saying it'll be somewhere between 3.2 and 4.7 for cost of living.
I guess that last I looked was pre-gas hikes or something, but, yeah, the thing is, when you look at what our recurring expenses and recurring revenues are, I just don't think we have enough money really to do it. Our reserves get depleted more and more every year. We've been running recurring revenues under recurring expenses for at least the last 3 years. So, I think everyone wants to give employees raises, but the question is, I think we're at a point where we kind of have to hit the brakes and because we're going to have revenues increase over the next few years. We have new things being built all the time. We have new businesses that are coming in. We'll have some bonds that'll fall off, that sort of thing. But the problem is we have those every year, and we kind of catch up to them every year, and we never really close the gap in a substantial way on letting our recurring revenues catch up with our recurring expenses, and our borrowing has been going up every year. And a lot of that borrowing is things that are should be maintenance issues, which, we talked about last meeting, or I guess the previous part of this meeting, I guess is what it is, but like you said, the Gale Center.
Yeah, that Gale Center roof is a recurring.
Yeah, and there are a few things like that in this budget too, which it's not that we don't need those things, but we're at a point where we're starting to rely on debt for things that are just maintenance items and replacing existing equipment.
I think.
So you're saying,
No, you can go, I'm sorry.
you're saying no raises at all?
That's not what he said. I would say my
No, he said
position is,
$1,000.
yeah, my position, I guess, would be, there are certain things we have to increase this year. PERS, our cost on PERS is going up. That's just a reality. The cost of our health insurance went up. That's just part of it. I would say unless it's been something it's any expenses, unless it's something that, has been, a department head's gone through and justified and said, hey, this is why it pays for itself or whatever, then have a flat budget year over year.
So,
And that includes raises.
so you're saying no raises this year? Is your
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No raises, and not just no raises, no additional expenditures over last year. And to look at what we can cut. And again, that's not to say I don't want to give people raises, of course I do. But I'm just looking at what we're spending and what we're bringing in, and we've got to catch up at some point. So,
Did you calculate what that would give us?
so there's a few different ways you can look at it, and there's a few different things you can cut, but I do have those numbers somewhere, if you give me a minute. But if you weren't, I can find it, but and we can move on to somebody else till I do find it. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's not going to get us, it's not going to close the gap. The gap's really somewhere like in the $1.5 to $1.6 million between recurring revenues and recurring expenses. But it gives us, it starts to move things in the right direction, because every year that gap exists, the next year's decisions to fix it are harder. So this year, we're looking at I'm saying, I don't see how we can afford raises. Next year, if our reserves are even more depleted, we have even less wiggle room. So the decisions just get harder and harder every year unless we, turn the tide in some way now.
And back to where all this started at again, back to we all like to see our reserve, be more. And I think Ben said he's proposing, almost 5% he's proposing of 600,000 this year. Total.
Yeah, yes, that's right. I mean, that was just, and where I got that number from is just from when we looked at the one-time revenues we got from our sales tax situation with DOR, it was around $600,000 to $650,000. You think that's a fair number, Mayor?
Yes, absolutely.
That's one-time money we won't get again. So if we don't want to try to spend too much of it on recurring expenses, because that's just going to get us in a tricky spot in future years. So, to me, it would just be that's a good number to shoot for as a goal. And if I'm not unreasonable if we can get.
But that's my point. It's good to have a number that we can look for, but to put in this budget, trying to get it all in this budget, I think would be, we didn't get there in one budget, and we won't get out in one budget.
Mm-hmm.
So look at, the 9 raises to our employees, and as Alderman Kitchen said, having a flat budget, because the cost of business is going up. I mean, we got, the thing that we use on a regular basis going to increase, so it can't be flat.
Well, and that's why I would put in the caveat that, so for instance, in our public works budget, we have line-by-line justification for why certain things should be spent and why certain things should be increased. I think of course, we should look at things like that and say, okay, well, if we're looking at this piece of equipment that's going to pay for itself in a couple of years, that makes sense to continue to do something like that. But if we're looking at, so I'm not saying we just, thoughtlessly cut it down to flat, but I think that way of doing it for our department heads should be the rule, not the exception. to where everyone should, like, when we go through and we have those line items, go through and justify, like, how is this equipment gonna save us in maintenance, or what is something we're contracting out that spending this saves us, Because we're at a point where, because obviously, if something has a net financial benefit, that's worth doing. You don't want to not spend the money on that because, you're trying to save $1 here, but it costs you $2 later. But at the same time, I think we need to really tighten the belt on things that cannot be justified explicitly for their cost savings for a while.
So my question to you then, since you said it like that, you used the Public Works as an example. Are you saying our other department here did not justify what the increase?
I'm not saying they didn't justify it at any point.
Let me finish.
Okay, go
You
ahead.
said, you specifically said,
Mm-hmm.
that Public Works went down line item by line item and justified why they need this and that.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? So the assumption is, since you said it like that, the assumption is that other department did not justify what they needed.
Well, what I'm saying is.
Let me finish up,
I
finish my
thought-
thought out
sorry, I thought you were
then.
now.
And else some of the notes that the mayor shared with us already on some things that was cut. So the discussion had to be going on to justify what they allowed to stay. And what we are talking about doing now is almost micromanagement, everything. So if you don't entrust the department head to do a job, and then you're gonna micromanage every penny, then something is wrong. Either we got the wrong department head, or we don't trust them, or something wrong. But I think everybody on this board would say that we got good department heads, and hadn't been shown no misuse or anything of fund and money in their budget. So, we talking now about the bottom line, and then I guess we're gonna spend another 3 or 4 hours talking line item by line item. I think,
Well, to clarify what I was.
okay, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, to clarify
That's
what
my
I was saying.
understanding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm saying that in the budget, and I hate to keep, harping on one department, but or talking about one department, but it's physically there, like we can see it in black and white, and that's helpful because it justifies, it shows, for instance, the boring machine is going to pay for itself over probably 2 years from savings of contracting that out. The brush truck, if we have a significant weather event where we have a lot of trees that fall down, that's going to pay for itself in, that one weather event. So, I'm talking about specific things. I'm not saying that, of course, the mayor and all the department heads meet together and talk about their needs. And of course, those needs are weighed against every other department's needs. So I guess what I'm saying is, sometimes what is going to be helpful for that department, even something that's going to be helpful for them to run, and is not necessarily going to be something that is the best use of the funds, because right now we're at a point where things need to justify themselves economically, and that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes things can justify themselves in efficiency or ease of providing a service, but right now they have to justify themselves economically, in my opinion. And that's what I mean.
I do agree with Alderman Piper that we need some sort of goal for the contingency fund. I don't think we're going to be able to reach $600,000 this year. I mean, that would, I would love that, but currently, and I haven't had a chance to look over the questions and answers, but I think you noted that I was the one that asked for the 250 to go in here, but no, I did not. I don't want it in this one. I would like it just
you
to
didn't?
have.
I'm
No,
sorry.
that wasn't me. That's okay.
Okay.
But the current year, and that's what I'm concerned about, because I like the 250. I like that we have that, and that's over to the side, and I don't want to mess with that. I want to keep that as it is. So the current year, we're down $153,000. So at minimum, I would like that to get to zero. Now, how we get there, I don't really know. In our finance committee meeting, we did discuss looking at possibly taking out a loan for some of the grant projects that we're doing. The only two, I looked at that today, the only two I could find were the MPO projects, the bike and the sidewalk.
Yes.
Is there anything else?
There are not anything.
Okay, so the difference between well, I guess the match part that we're doing that is about $229,000. So I don't know what a loan would look like for that amount, but I mean, if we could spread that out over a few years, I mean, that would save us a little bit. As far as the other expenses, I mean, I feel like, I'm sure there might be a few little pennies to cut here and there, but I mean, I think for the most part, I'm sure everyone was very conservative with their expenses. So I don't know what else.
I'll just read over just to remind everybody, because I don't know that everybody still has it. I have this thing we brought the last time for one of the board meetings of the capital items that were requested and the ones that were cut. And that doesn't count the ones we cut when I met with the department heads, and we cut them before y'all even saw them. But the police department had asked for 7 new cars, which we need, and we had reduced those to 5, which got that down from 500,000 to 350. The Public Works Department in streets had asked for a storm drain vacuum, and we got rid of that one. Animal control wants a storage building for 20,000. We removed that one. We're just going to find a place to store those cages elsewhere. The siren upgrades in dispatch, as much as we want to upgrade them and make them better, that was 43,000 that we've removed. So those are things that we've removed already, just so everybody remembers that.
So the police cars, that's like paying them in full this year?
Oh, yeah, we're not borrowing money on police cars, just
Okay.
paying for them. Right.
I don't know if that's also
I think
an option.
last year, we paid off the loans that we had on police cars.
We're not carrying any debt.
Right, yeah. And I
Okay.
think that's good to be out from under that police car debt.
It is. I don't know if I don't like debt, but I don't like lack of contingency either, so.
Right.
It's the lesser of two evils, I guess.
We had that debt for about 5 years on police cars, didn't we? Okay.
What's the lifespan of a vehicle for y'all? As many miles as y'all put on them?
Depends on how long y'all want to keep it in. We have some cars that's 7, 8 years old, 10 to 12. We just had to replace 3 engines in the last week and a half. Typically, a patrol car is good for 5 years. After that, we're pushing the limits. We have several that's over 5 years. Investigations can go 7 to 8. They're not driven as much and as hard. If you notice, our vehicle maintenance has skyrocketed. That's why we tried to add more money to get newer cars, to get rid of some of these older cars. Didn't work out this year, we'll try next year.
Yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, is the maintenance that we're doing on these vehicles exceeding, is it unjustifiably expensive to where it would make more sense to buy a new one? Or is it still cheaper for us to continue to maintain older vehicles?
It's nothing cheaper about repairing these vehicles.
Yeah, you're
Now,
replacing 3 engines. And
What we're doing, Captain Scott does a very good job on salvaging cars that we can't drive them anymore. I can't tell you how much money we saved on parts. We got skeletons over there at different lots because we get everything off of them before we get rid of them. The ideal thing would be every 60, 65,000 miles, we get rid of them, we auction them off, we sell them, get half our money back, and we only pay half for a new car. We're not in that position to do that.
And do we have to maintain a larger fleet because they're so old?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, in a lot of ways, I hate any vehicle debt personally. But honestly, I mean, if the lifespan of a vehicle is 5 years to continue to run effectively, and we can finance them at 5 years, it does make sense. I mean, it's not what we want to continue to do because it's the same problem. It's replacing existing equipment on debt. However, our cash reserve, we have no cash reserves. So if we're going to buy vehicles, then it's less objectionable than some of the other alternatives. And if we can maintain a smaller fleet by having a newer fleet, then that makes sense. But does anyone have any opinions on that maybe has worked in the sheriff's department before?
I work in a jail. We don't have cars in the jail. But I think it's a bad idea. We just got out of all this debt back when y'all bought all the Explorers and all that.
Well,
mean, I just don't think that's a good
what put us
idea.
there is we had to buy so many at one time. Ideally, you would get rid of a quarter of your fleet every 5 years. So you'd constantly roll it over, where after that 5 years, you'd get 5 more, and you have some time. The way we do it is we ride them until we can't drive them anymore, and then we have to buy 7, 8, 9, 10 vehicles at one time, because we put so much money in them in maintenance that we got to run them, and we run them till they won't run.
Have we ever looked at like a mechanic for the city and if that would justify itself?
We have talked about that, but it's not, we don't have enough fleet yet to do that.
Even between like Public Works and?
Yeah, we just don't. I mean, I don't feel like we do. And we looked at it a couple of years ago, and it just didn't seem feasible at the time. We would have to add a couple more mechanics, for sure, because
They would need to be a certified mechanic. I mean, they couldn't be somebody we know that
Yeah.
he's good.
Well, I don't want to do that anyway.
Because everything is electronic now.
Yeah, gotcha.
And we've got one good mechanic over there at the shop, but, he's not going to be changing engines out.
Right, yeah. They're just doing like maintenance or?
Yeah, he does all the maintenance on them over there and, and works on some of the tractors and then does some other stuff in the field when we need him.
I gotcha.
What I can, just for information purpose, and Alderman Wooker can attest to this too, along with the chief, we're trying to get the fleet to where it is now. We did a whole lot of different things. We were buying cars out of Missouri with 50,000 miles on them to get to one point. And then after we did that, then we got to the point when they talking about, then we got to the point that we had to go on and bite the bullet and get, 10 or 15 cars at a time, and we get
Yes, it was about 15.
15 cars, and then after we went through that cycle, then we started the 5 to 7 cars rollover then. So we have been very frugal and, looking at ways to conserve and keep money and then keep a good vehicle on the road. We can get our cars and sell them at 60,000, because like I said, Highway Patrol, their number is 50,000. They don't let nothing get to 50,000. I'm talking about in Missouri, not Mississippi now. But in Missouri, they don't let nothing get to 50,000 before they sell them. So.
I had a question about two expense lines in here in the 090686 and 090687, tree board expenses and condemnation expense. Both of those they total for this budget year $31,800.
So the tree board expense, that is money that was set aside that can't be spent on anything else. It was a fee in lieu of, and I think most of it came from the developer up at Pleasant Hill Road, when he was cutting all those trees down. He had to give tree mitigation money. That money can only be spent on something like that. And so that's why it's in there. And we don't know if we'll spend it this year, but we just didn't want to lose track of it because that's how much was collected. And that was where Austin had made sure we put that in there because we're not allowed to spend that on anything
Okay.
else because it was collected for that.
Okay.
Alderman Piper, can you rattle off that number again? Just
There
real
you
quick.
go, I'm trying to be fast,
Yeah,
man.
you said real fast.
Sorry, it's in the
001
001090,
686.
and
And
then,
the $5,000 condemnation, we just put that in there in case we had to tear down a house this year.
okay.
And maybe we won't, hopefully we won't. We had to do 2 or 3 in the last 5 years. And at that price, we would have to tear it down ourselves to, that.
Yeah, thank you. I just,
Hire anybody to.
thank you. I'm literally just looking at, if there's something that's
Yeah,
been.
anything over $1,000 you're looking
Well,
at, I get it.
Yeah, no, I mean, or anything that has been budgeted for, not realized,
Yeah.
right? And, so is that something that we're holding off for a project, or is that something that, maybe we
Yeah.
can reduce or whatever, just to make it get where we would like to be?
And it's kind of off the topic, but you're talking about that tree board expense. That money has to be spent on putting trees back somewhere. We're going to incur an expense over around the water tower. We've got a landscape around that water tower that wasn't included, I don't think, in the bid. We could use this money to do that, and that's an expense we're going to have, and we could use this instead of just doing something that was beautification just for beautification. This is something that would need to be done. So I'll keep an eye on that. If there's any projects we have going that require us to landscape, I'll make sure we try to get y'all's permission to pull that from there. And we could, that condemnation expense, I can't think of I can think of a house we're probably going to have to condemn shortly over on Hill Street, so we probably should leave that there. Natalie, when you were talking about borrowing money for the 2 MPO projects, match money, those are capital expenditures. We're building sidewalks that are going to last for 25 years. We're putting in a bike lane that's going to last 25 years. So borrowing that money over a 5-year time period would meet the good accounting version of why you borrow money. You certainly don't want to borrow money for something that'll wear out before you, to Alderman Kitchen's point,
Right.
that it's going to wear out before you get it paid for. We don't want to be borrowing money to pave streets in general and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But this is something that is a long-lasting project, so that would be a justifiable reason to borrow money to get us feeling a little more comfortable with this year's budget.
We hadn't really talked about it, but if we can get through this year, I think there's a bond payment coming off.
There's a $360,000 payment we'll make in May, and that'll be the last one of those we make.
So we should be able to,
That'll give us a little more money we're allocating to the bond fund that could come back to the general fund next year in property taxes.
Yeah.
in the budget here, this new version, this has a 3% raise for every city employee. And
It does, plus a couple of special ones that were
couple
noted
ones.
on the sheets.
Nothing for the board, right?
Nothing for the board.
It's got your raise in it.
It did put one in there for me that y'all said to put in.
With the 250,000 in a special fund or whatever, that balances out evenly in the general fund, is that right?
With the 250, right now, it leaves us about, was it 97,000?
Correct.
So we got to cut out $97,000 no matter what?
No, it leaves 97 to the good if
Okay,
we
okay.
include that
Okay.
250. Let me give you an actual number.
So we're about 350.
Yeah, it leaves 97,264.
So we're about 350 in our contingency fund, if you count both.
No, that would
No.
pull out, that's using up to 250.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that includes the 250, so that would really be a true contingency of only $97,000.
So we're 500,000 from where Piper wants to get.
Yes, that's true.
Well, when did you say that falls off?
Next year.
May, yeah. in the upcoming budget year.
Yeah, but then we'll have 3% more in raises and 3% more, I don't think, it's just the same thing as, we'll always have things that fall off, we always have things that are new developments, but we always kind of catch up in our
Yeah.
expenses to those things. So I think things like that might cushion us next year. I don't think it's going to substantially add to our reserves in any real way.
I feel, my personal opinion is that we had quite a few funds, and we've done a lot of really good projects over the last few years. We've done some great projects, but they all took match money.
Right.
Even if we got grants, they took match money. And we spent a lot of money on things that needed to be done and that the community wanted done. But we may just need to pause getting grants that have a match for a little while,
Yeah.
unless it was something we were going to have to do anyway.
Yeah, because otherwise it's coupon shopping.
It
You know what
is,
I mean?
that's
It's
right,
like,
yeah.
you go and buy it because it's, you got a coupon for it, but,
sell.
yeah.
They sell.
Do we have any, are we in the line for any new MPO projects or anything?
The MPO cycle is set, so no. We're in a 4-year tip cycle now. There will be nothing new coming up. We were going to ask what we have learned over the year, what I've learned over the years is if you can get a planning grant, 100% planning grant, it puts you closer in line to get a real grant to fund it later. So we could start working on some planning grants, and Gia and I are supposed to have a meeting with a set of engineers to help us find some. But we could start working on planning grants for capital projects, do that, and then by the time we get the engineering done on the planning grant, get it all engineered, we might be in a better spot to get the actual grant that would need a match for it.
And so, I'm reading through your answers to the questions. One of the questions was about the MPO projects, which are the sidewalk project
The
and,
downtown Nesbit sidewalk project
Yes.
and the bike lane project on Mount Pleasant.
and we're pretty much committed to those, is what
We
you're
are,
saying?
yeah. Those have been, actually, both of those have been going on for quite a few years.
Gotcha.
The Nesbit sidewalk project has been going on for at least 10 years. It kind of hit a lull for a while, but now
Hit a
it's.
lull again?
So that project, even though I'm putting half of it in this budget, if I put Scott on it and made him push them, it would all get done in this next budget year. But we're not going to push hard. We're going to try to
Right.
let it linger so it goes over 2 budget years. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. But that's what you're saying, might not be a bad idea something that might not be a bad idea to get
To borrow the match money.
that's like 229,000, I guess, between the two for this year.
That was Natalie's idea, not mine, but I concur with it.
What's that?
I was saying that was your idea. I wouldn't want to take credit for your idea.
Oh, no, I don't, somebody said it in our finance, I don't know. I don't remember.
The sales tax figure that's in here for the current year, is that including what we got this month?
Yes, it is.
6.85?
Yes.
So we'll still have the September,
We got one more coming.
okay.
Yep. And we would assume it would be around 550. And we did just get the franchise tax revenue number in here, which is line 001-000-221. That one has another $158,000 check that probably went to the bank at 2 o'clock today that's not showing. So that'll put us about 843, I think, something like that. So we're on track with that 850 budget line item. The franchise, every time we add residents in the town, there's new houses that are using Atmos Gas and Comcast and Entergy where we get the bulk of our payments from. So those grow a little bit, but I'm only showing $7,000 growth because I'm trying to be a little bit conservative on our revenue estimates.
Now, in the kitchen, one thing I think we can all agree upon, he showed the numbers from 24, 25 to 26. I would be in favor that we have no new position added this next budget year at all.
Agree with that.
I think the only new positions we've got are the police department. Is that the right, Julie? The civilian employee and the half a year of a patrol officer. And just to remind everybody, the ask was for 2 civilian employees and 2 patrol officers, so the police department has already given up some on that one.
But my point is, with the exception was already before us now. Nothing else.
Oh, you're saying mid-year don't add anything?
That's what I'm
Okay, I see
saying, it's
you're
what
saying. Okay.
before
I'm
us
taking-
is up to date.
All right.
It don't nothing be added. That's my point.
So we're going to look at the department heads and say, don't come asking for more employees in the middle of the year.
But it looks like from, I guess, Alderman Piper had asked, I guess since in the last 2 years, we've added about 20 employees to the city. And that's a pretty good clip.
17.
Yeah, 17. That's Hernando math now.
Hernando Central also.
Yeah, from 24 to now, so.
I think that's a fair ask, to not add additional headcount
Yeah.
during the year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that still has the headcount grow a little bit. Our population is growing a little bit. I understand it takes more people to run the city, but
I think it's a
I
bullet
think
we have to bite.
we
though.
decide it now, yeah.
And on the, this is from Ben notes, item number 4, I think that's something that we can look at, your item 4 list, I think that's something we can look at during the year and get some feedback
Yep.
to you. You will agree, I mean, still a good look, something we, can look at.
That's something we've tossed around, I think, since I've been on the board, is looking
Yeah.
at somebody there, so.
Right, that's what I'm saying, we can take a look,
Yeah, we'll get our department heads to talk to all the repair shops in town and get quotes on various things and see if we can get almost a contract on price, contract
I
price.
think he was telling something about there's something wrong with the transmission on those Dodge, Durangos or something, is what's causing it to go so? You may know, Robert.
What is the big issue with the Durangos? I know there's couple of things.
We had 2 Durangos that were early on that had a lot of problems. They just came, a lot of stuff was fixed in our warranty on those, but they were just problem cars. But the transmissions, we really don't have a whole lot of issues. We've only done maybe, since we've had the Chargers, maybe 3 transmissions since we started Chargers in 2017. So we really don't have a lot of transmission issues. They're pretty robust transmissions on those, and they share the same ones in the Chargers and the Durango, so don't see a lot of issues with them. We see a lot of issues with the cooling systems, the plastic parts, because they run so long, the plastic parts get brittle, the T-connectors on the back, where the coolant lines, they end up cracking, failing, water pumps, fans, the plastic fans, they'll explode, take out the radiator, things of that sort. So we've seen a lot of issues with those, and then if anybody's familiar with the 4-cylinder to 8-cylinder modes that's active on the Chargers equipped with the Hemis, and those lifters fail. So that's where the engine problems generally come from, is a failed lifter. And it
Okay.
takes the camshaft and stuff out, throws metal through it, so we end up replacing them. But the last 3 engines that he was referencing were just in it for labor. I pulled the engines out of the cars that's been either damaged or wrecked or deadline, so we've salvaged a lot of expense where it's going to cost roughly $1,800 in labor to replace them with existing engines versus $8,000-9,000 engines. So we're reusing what we have to fix those issues.
We appreciate your expertise on that. We know you're
He
kind
likes
of a
our
car
cars.
nut, so you're
Yeah.
using it to help us, and we appreciate it.
Not a problem.
Mayor, I'd make a suggestion. I think it sounds like there's a consensus that we like a higher contingency fund.
Yes.
So I think we need to agree to a number, get you and your team to go back and come back to a budget with that number in it. I think that makes the most sense. I mean, you guys know y'all's department more than we do. So if that's 250, 175, 5, whatever we agree on as a board, and have you bring us back a budget. I'm talking about the general fund,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I think I think everybody's pretty much in agreement with the rest of the budget.
If it's the 250, could we go off of what Natalie suggested, doing the loan?
Yeah, let them decide whatever they want to do and bring that back to us if they want to borrow money for whatever. I mean, I think that's kind of their, I don't, yeah, that's kind of that's what we have the department heads, that's what they make money doing, in my opinion.
What you talking about, addition 100,000 or?
Oh, wait, I think we got to pick a number. I think we're at
That's what I'm
97 right
saying.
now.
We're 97 right now.
I think Ben said 600,000. I think that may be too high, so.
Somewhere in the middle. I think Alderman Miller earlier said, I mean, it took us years to deplete it, so it would probably take us a couple years to
It didn't
get
take us
there.
that many years.
Well, I don't know, I've only been here once. But I think Piper has a good goal to get to, but it might take us a couple years to get there. So that's great if that bond payment's coming off next year, then maybe next year we can take a bigger bite, fiscal year '28 towards it. But I'm right there with you, Alderman Wicker, somewhere in between.
We shoot back again for the 250 and just see how it come there.
I mean, I think the 251 should be an absolute minimum.
Right, that's what I'm saying, come back, we at 97 now, so shoot for 250.
The 250 is already in a separate account. right?
Well, this
So-
they're
97
using that to
includes.
get
No,
the
I
250.
understand, but it's like, that's already to the side. I agree with Natalie, but.
Yeah, that should be a minimum.
It should stay to the side, and then that's the floor.
Yeah. Which means we'd have to come up with another 153.
So we talking about, yeah, we talking about 250.
Do we have any vacant positions that hadn't been filled in a while? I mean, I know one time we had a hard time getting paramedics and stuff.
Yeah, we've got an animal control officer, that position we just can't seem to fill, no matter what we do. What other ones are we having trouble with, Julie?
Write that one out, planning director.
I will start interviewing planning director candidates next week.
Who needs that?
That's a no-no there.
I don't think that it's gonna, it might take a little while to get one.
Position, benefits and everything would be, $59,000
So even though it's in the budget, then we, yeah,
So 6 months, that's 30,000.
yeah.
Right, I mean,
Eliminate, I mean, do we, if we hadn't, when's the last time we had somebody in that position?
Can you speak to that, Jessica? When was the last time we had somebody in it?
Well, we did some moving around when I had personnel issues. Originally, that position was a kennel position, but I had one step down to the position, which opened up that spot. Originally, we would have 2 ACO officers, 1 kennel tech, 2 kennel techs, 1 ACO officer, plus myself.
could you survive 6 months?
Surviving this long.
Well,
Are you
that's-
having a lot of-
That's 30,000.
I will tell you, we work 24/7.
Are you having a lot of overtime without that position?
We're
Yeah.
going to still have overtime, because by that time, we're going to rotate if we have a position, but I'm just not going to hire somebody off the street that has no idea what they're doing. It's
So,
not
I
easy.
mean,
That's a start, I mean,
That's a start. I mean,
I'm just
that's-
throwing suggestions out there, I'm not saying that's the right one, that's something to look at.
but I'm just
We
saying,
also have Cassie dump road yards, but we have a court clerk position open.
You're interviewing for that pretty soon, aren't you? Tomorrow, yeah.
for courses, stuff is going up like this, so we can't afford, I mean.
Captain position open.
We have
Hmm.
a courts administrator position open in parks.
And you're interviewing for that right now, aren't you? Okay.
And the reason that is because, upward,
Yeah, we added a deputy director.
I mean, that's $30,000 there we can.
Just
you know,
hold, just say hold off for half a year without advertising or interviewing that
That's
position.
just $30,000.
I mean, if it helps out to cut mine, I don't have a problem with that. We're gonna continue working the way we're working. But like I said, I'm kind of planning on advertising that until probably the next budget season anyway. So 6 months is not gonna hurt me.
Okay, all right.
So I don't mind cutting that in.
Did you put that in your?
Well, I'm gonna put that one,
Yeah, that may be something.
yeah, well, I'm gonna put that down as a definite, and we will just still have that position,
Yeah, we're gonna still
but
have
starting
the
6
position.
months into the budget year, we'll start working on it again. Okay.
Appreciate you.
That's 30,000 now, so it's a start. You know.
We're halfway there.
I do, I do think there's, when we're coming up with this figure, we should have a certain amount that we're willing to fund, of that reserve that we're willing to fund with debt, and how much, because we wouldn't want it all to be borrowing.
Sure.
I think between the mayor and his staff and the finance committee gonna come back with some things that I think it'll satisfy us, I believe. And keeping in mind what you're talking about, because I think none of us want to come and go back into long-term debt like we've been having.
I would really strongly, unless it's just a have to borrow for the cars, unless we just really, really have to.
Right.
I agree. We were so proud to get rid of that car debt.
They wreck a car and it's over with, they flip one, and
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm kind of wondering. Are there any like hard stops for anybody on this budget that you just cannot agree with?
His number was like the bare minimum for me. Of 600 in reserves or in contingency. So,
I mean, but we gotta have a discussion on how you get there, though, so if you.
I mean, realistically.
Lay it out to me, I'm all ears.
I mean, I wasn't hiding the 8 ball. I said, if we froze things like raises this year, or at least cut those down substantially, and then, borrowed the matches for those two MPO projects, then that's close to 600,000 right there. Actually, that's if you eliminated the raises completely.
I don't think we're gonna get to 600,000 at all. What if we shoot for 300,000?
I think I thought we kind of agreed,
Yeah,
that's it. We agreed at 250,
250?
the move forward.
I thought
I'm good with that.
250 was.
No,
I didn't.
He's talking about like a bare minimum 250. I think with his plan, it'd get.
Yeah, I think maybe a majority of the board might agree on 250. I don't think that I'm there.
okay, well,
Yeah.
So, just so I understand, so you're saying to not have any pay raises for any city employee and borrow money for the two MPO projects?
And to justify anything else that we increase to justify its necessity. There's certain things that absolutely have to go up, but, it'd be nice to know.
Like, no capital expenditures at all?
Like,
Unless they justify themselves.
I mean, at what level are we justifying? Like, if it goes up $200, do you need a justification, or is like,
No,
like,
I mean, well,
you
more
said
so.
line by line, so.
That's fair. If you interpret my words with legal precision, then you're
I can only interpret what I hear. so-
then yes. But I mean, anything that's like a marked increase year over year, I mean, probably anything over $1,000 really, that we should really justify like why we need to do that. And, especially larger expenses. I mean, what I'm not saying is there are no capital expenses that pay for themselves, because obviously they do. And sometimes I think we, by going the cheaper route up front, we do cost ourselves more money over the long run, which is not what I'm saying. But if something is going to pay for itself, make the case of why this reduces our cost over the long term. Because the goal, in my mind, is to put ourselves, obviously, we're not going to fix everything this year, but to put ourselves on a trajectory where we are working in that direction. So sometimes spending money on a capital expense helps us actually work in that direction, because we save more money in the next couple of years. But other times it doesn't. So
So we're looking at two numbers. I mean, let's just throw it out there and quit beating around the bush. Looking at two numbers. You and Ben looking at 600,000 in this budget year.
yeah.
I'm just
yeah.
just a yes or no answer. I mean, let's just.
Well, I was looking at something higher, but.
Well, I'm just
yeah.
saying though that you'll be more agreeable to a $600,000
Yeah,
this year.
yeah.
And I think I'm hearing the rest of the board saying that we will agree with $250,000 this year. And then to look at the other thing that we talked about is the mayor and the department heads and the finance committee, in line with Alderman Wicker was talking about. And then come back with us a number. But realistic, we cannot get to $600,000
I mean, we
this year.
could do two things to get us to 356. One is do the loan for the 229,000 for the MPO project, and then take half the year off of animal patrol for 30, and then we've got the 97,000 there. That's 356,000.
But, again, we have to look at a conservative number. You pushing it all the way to the max. Not knowing even not knowing what the interest would be on a loan.
We could do this if we agree on the 250, which I'm good with that.
And then if
Do
they bring it up, to that point, then we can do that.
Mayor, I mean, you
Yes.
probably looked over this more than anybody. Is there any cuts that you think are just, you just bare bones cut out without having to borrow money?
I can't find any more, or I would have already found them. And I've asked my department heads, we are bare bones. Some things we're going to be struggling to get through the year with, for certain. And I think most of us are on the same page, but I just want to state that as far as employees go, if we don't at least give a 3% raise, then they're going really backwards. Because we're raising, we've got a higher health premium, cost of living's gone up, and every department is working understaffed across the whole city. So our workers are our backbone. And we are losing firemen already. Well, we have lost some policemen to more high pay. We've lost 2 department heads to higher pay. And if we start falling behind any more at all, we are going to see an exodus of firemen and policemen and other departments. And when those firemen and policemen go off to the academy, we get new ones. And while they're at the academy, we're paying their salary, and we're having to pay overtime to our other officers to backfill their positions because we cannot not have full staff on police and fire. So that costs us money. And I think we would be in a big world of hurt. And we have to always put our employees first. That's what I always do with the budget. I put the raises in first because we don't take care of the people working for us, none of the rest of it matters. Because unhappy employees will leave, or quite frankly, they can hurt us. A disgruntled employee can do things that cost us money. That's, I'd like to think that none of our employees would do that, but we got 208 of them. So we need to keep the ones we've got. They're great people, and we need to compensate them for what they're doing. I don't think any of us think 3% is enough. I don't think it's enough, but it's all we can afford, and barely afford, quite frankly. So that's where I am on that one.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying I don't want the employees to get raises. I'm just saying, I don't know that we can afford 3%.
I don't think we can't afford not to do it.
Well, we don't necessarily even have to do 3% across the board. If our main retention, we can look at our main retention issues and see where that is too.
And then, so you're telling others departments that, you really great for the city, but you just ain't important as this department over here.
I'm just saying where we have
Let me
retention
finish up.
issues. Yeah.
And I guarantee you, and it's not knocking nobody, what
The pauses.
we have, and I think all departments would agree, we got more employees in ditches at midnight than we have firemen putting out houses.
Mhm.
And I'll leave it there.
Well, I wasn't necessarily calling out the employees, and actually, a lot of our lower paid employees, lower hourly pay, are probably some of our harder employees to retain. So if the standard is, prioritizing areas where we have retention issues, then that really they'd probably be some of the first ones to get a raise. And then, police and fire, if we have retention issues with police and fire.
Well, I would dare to say, this board don't share your sentiment, because I know some department got 2 or 3 raises during the course of a year, and that department there didn't get none but 1 year, 1 salary increase a year. So I ain't gonna say what department that was, but I say it happened.
And I would say that, Mr. Andrew, you've been here longer than me, but I think when we got here in '21, we had to play catch-up a little bit, and I think that's catching up to us now with some of the raises we did give back then.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but it was by certain departments.
Sure.
Certain departments.
I feel like we kind of had the same conversation last Tuesday, where we talked about, it didn't work to not do the same for every department. Did we not
Right, yeah,
discuss that?
yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're in the county.
Well, there was disagreement still, we weren't settled on that. but-
I didn't say
And we
that,
all-
so we discussed it.
Yeah, but also, then we were more talking about merit within, department from department. This is, kind of a different standard, which is departments where you have retention issues, not necessarily talking about merit, which I think was the topic of discussion before.
Okay, true.
I think you also have, like, when we say, so I feel like this also happens every year, is that there's a statement like 3% across the board, but also there's like 6 or 7 over here that are getting something different than that. So is it, when we're having these discussions to try to find these extra thousands or whatever else, is it 3% across the board and also there's some people over here, or is it 3% across the board? Because like, it just, if we're stating that in a public meeting, that's 3% across the board, that's what it needs to be.
Well,
So-
I think the mayor shared with us in his notes and in the explanation, there's a couple of employees that he want to look at a different other than the 3%. So he being transparent.
Correct. But if it's in the, if it's in a motion or it's something like that,
It'll be.
you know what I'm saying? Like when we, yeah, I'm just
It'll
saying,
have to be in the
we need to be
motion.
mindful of those things when we're,
I mean, it's in the budget, right?
And it's in the employee spreadsheets we
Well,
distribute.
and I'm going to
It
be a
is,
little.
but those aren't
Oh,
publicly, like, they're not just like shared with everyone ahead of time. I think is probably what Alderman Piper is getting at, is we see that information, you're being very transparent with
Yeah.
us on, these are the departments and specific individuals that need something a little different from 3%. So I think that's,
yeah.
tell me if I'm speaking out of turn, okay.
And I'm going to be a little obnoxious and say those are merit-based raises.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
I guess if we're not open to those, then
I think one of them, it was a department that was getting that maybe came
Yeah,
up to more than 3%.
animal control was
Yeah.
a flat $1.50 for each employee.
I don't know
I'll
if,
speak on that, and that's
Please,
because
yeah.
my employees, and I'm not saying against anybody else, but my employees work very hard.
Yeah.
They work 24/7. Sometimes we get 4 hours of sleep at night, and we get on call at night. I haven't had this position filled in a long time, so I was willing to give up that spot to give them, they deserve raises. And I think it should be more than 3% because I budgeted that for this, and I cannot find a person to fill that spot. So I'd much rather give that to them versus be finding somebody else, and my appreciation for them. And I think the city
Absolutely.
should do that as well.
yes.
I think that, they're worth it. And as every department, positions are hard to fill, and it's hard to find a good employee and keep them if you don't take care of your employees.
It is. And that's, I think we were just wanting to call out specifically
Yep.
that there are a couple of things that aren't 3%. And there's justification right there.
Yeah. I mean,
Absolutely.
They work hard.
Yes, ma'am.
We start way before we're supposed to. Because we have a lot of animals, and that's what it takes.
Should we go to executive session?
We got items, or do we move on to item 6, or do we want to continue discussion next Tuesday?
Well,
So we need to
No,
like,
I'll-
leave with items though for,
do it.
we need to leave this conversation with items for the mayor and the department heads to work on and have that number. Did we pick our magical number that we want to?
And if the way we're going to get to that number is with the ACO half a year and borrowing the money for the capital improvements, that would get us to the number.
Yeah.
If that's what we're going to do,
Yeah,
we
I
should
like-
just go ahead and do that now.
Yeah, I would like to just pause item 5, and go to executive session, and then come back to 5.
Understood.
Because some of the things we're going to talk about in executive session
Right.
pertain to the budget.
Right.
Is it for the same, like?
I'm assuming that's what it is, Ben. Is
for the
Yeah.
same kind of reason?
Yeah.
Okay.
that- Yeah, because we can't really make a motion on the budget.
Until we've been in
without
this
hearing
stuff. Okay.
Understood.
All right. So,
Item
all right.
6.
Let's do item 6 then, for now. which is to approve the Phoenix invoice in the amount of $184,692.63 to be paid so we can turn it in for the ARPA MCWI reimbursement deadline of August 31st.
Motion.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Now, I will need a motion to go into closed determination to go into executive session.
Motion.
So motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. We are now in a determination closed session. So I guess we're going to ask all of the department heads to leave. All right, do y'all feel like y'all will need them back for questions after executive session, or is everybody?
I don't think so.
No.
Okay. All right.